Hi, this is Tanya, and this is my channel, Tea Talks 93. So I wanted to go over Sister Wives today, starting with season 1. As I have said before, that I have watched every single season and all the recaps and the wedding show and everything. So I would like to just review from the beginning. So Sister Wives season 1, in episode 1, we were introduced to Cody and his wives, along with his, it would have been 12 children at the time, because Truly hadn't been born yet, and he hadn't quite brought Robin in, although apparently they had been dating for a little while. Mary was introduced as the first wife, Janelle was introduced as the second wife, and Christine was introduced as the third wife. And it appeared that, Mary was more outspoken and pretty, I want to say stern, but she was not as bubbly as like Christine, the third wife, was pretty bubbly in the beginning. And then Janelle was pretty reserved and quiet, it seemed like. But the kids seemed very excited to get started with the show. I'm not sure if they were so happy about the show, if they were so happy about, another family coming in the picture, getting attention. Of course, little kids would love to be on camera, and as we saw with a few of them, they wanted to get some spotlight in. So we were introduced to Cody, and he would say that he was, so he's driving in his car, and he says he's a repeat offender, marrying several wives, right? And he just couldn't help himself, apparently, marrying pretty frequently. So Mary, they'd been married about 20 years at that time, and I believe Janelle was about 17 years, and maybe Christine was like 15 or 16 years they'd been married at that time. So we got to learn some about them and how they worked within the home. They had the one big house in Lehi, Utah, and they would talk about how they shared it, and Christine was the one that was pretty much the caregiver for the kids. They made a big point about Janelle being like a breadwinner. She would go out and work while Christine helped take care of hers and Janelle's kids, which would have been about 11 kids total there between the two of them. And then I'm not sure where Leon fit in. I'm not sure if Mary just took care of Leon and did their own thing, and then the other two wives would have been separate, right? So that's one thing that nobody has brought up before that I have seen, where Mary, I believe, worked, and I would think that Leon was in the home with Christine, but I'm really not sure. So it would be interesting to see how that played out at that time, because as we know now, Mary and Cody had been having problems even before this. Before the show even started, they were having problems. So in episode 2, Robin came into the picture, and Cody was talking about how he was looking for his fourth wife. So again, married 15, 17, and 20 years to these other people. They already were established and together for over 15 years. So 15 or 16 years they've been together and had kind of their groove going, and they had their routines. So then you bring another wife in to disrupt everything. So we know how it played out in the long run, but they seem to be very happy about her coming in for the most part. The wives later did express their concerns about her coming in at this late of a game, right? And really, like, the other wives they're having teenagers, and their kids were starting to like get ready to move out of the home, and then you're kind of starting over. Cody was kind of starting over with Robin, having little kids, as we find out later. So it's kind of interesting that that would happen when they're kind of at different times of their life, right? So the thought processes of people who have little kids versus those who are, get ready to be empty nesters are completely different. So maybe they were looking forward to like spending time as adults, like doing adult things, and then the kids will be out of the house. But then now Cody can't, because he's got more kids that's going to come up. So it's very different for sure. And the one thing that we also have found out with this group it seems, and with other polygamy groups, especially the FLD or the Fundamental Latter-day Saints, they would take a wife when there were problems. So Cody had mentioned, he had Mary, and they agreed that they wanted to be a polygamy family. So they brought in Janelle, and Mary had already known Janelle because Janelle had been married to her older brother, although it's kind of separate really, because Janelle and the older brother didn't work out, and then it was a little bit of time where Janelle was still part of going to see Mary's family because they knew each other through that past relationship, and her parents kind of took Janelle under their wing a little bit, let her camp, I guess. I read the book as well. So in the book, it talked about how she would camp on their land, and then Cody and Mary would come and visit, and they would go and talk to her and spend time with her. And she really liked Cody as a person, like a friend. So kind of seemed like, and I think she's even said it, like, might as well marry my friend. He was good looking. He was nice. He was in my belief, in my faith. So she just felt like she fit in. So they brought her into that as well. But in episode 2, he was courting Robin, the 4th wife. So he'd drive from Lehi, Utah, down to St. George to visit her and her kids. There has been some speculation I have heard, like, did they stay together? Did they have premarital relations? Which apparently Christine had said, she wasn't allowed to kiss or hold hands really, or anything much before they got married, before it was official. So she was kind of upset about that. And then there's some mismatched communication. I'm not sure if she said it or somebody else said that. She said it was okay to kiss Robin because, obviously he did kiss her a couple times that we did see before they actually got married, but the other relations should not occur, right? So apparently, according to his daughter, he was staying at friends' homes on their couches or spare rooms or whatever, or he would stay at Robin's parents' house overnight, so it wasn't inappropriate in their belief system. And then he would take some of his daughters, I think Maddie and Aspen maybe, and McKelty also, down to visit so they could babysit some, or get to know the other kids and the wife and Robin before they got married. So also in this episode, Christina's very pregnant, and she's very when you're pregnant, you want your husband there with you all the time to help you, especially like she's in the late stages of her pregnancy, and he's going away like 4-hour drive down to visit Robin, and there she is with a handful of little kids. Who do we have? We still had Gwen and Peyton and Isabel there in the home that she would have had to take care of, and then she's probably not feeling real great. And she even said that she was working still in her pregnancy, so she needed more help. And then I can only imagine how she would feel that she was kind of abandoned a little bit. So it would make sense where you maybe not even mean to, but you might hold a grudge against your husband if he's traveling away from you and going to get another wife who's younger and able to have children, and I can only imagine how she was feeling. And I can't comprehend myself how Cody does not understand why it would upset her. Oh my gosh, why would it upset her? He has no clue. So that was very frustrating for him to just not understand the jealousy. It's not even, part of it's jealousy, but a lot of it I think is abandonment. She's feeling abandoned and she just needs more help. Anyway, so then episode 3 goes to where Robin is moving into her home in Lehi from St. George. So everybody, or most of them, will go down to Lehi to start getting Robin packed up into the U-Haul, or excuse me, the trailer, to get her moved up to closer to them. And Robin is like running around with the kids. Their kids aren't wanting to go. They're cranky. They're not wanting to pack. They haven't packed much. So once they get there, they're having to do a lot of work to get them packed up and get them into the trailer, all their stuff, so they can move to Lehi. And then Mary, the first wife, and as we know now, they were kind of not having the best relationship between Mary and Cody. But Mary's trying to direct traffic. Basically, she's trying to lead them to get the stuff done that they need to do, and Cody's like picking at her, like calling her like the packing Nazi or something like that, which maybe he was doing it in fun, but maybe there was a little bit of nastiness in the background to that, because they've been having problems. That's how I felt. Even at the time, I felt bad for Mary for him talking like that to her and calling her that. So I thought it was uncalled for, but Mary just kind of brushes it off, and she just continues to do the work. Episode 4 is where Christine is taken to the hospital to deliver Truly. So they decide the 13th kid on the 13th day. So they were going to go ahead and induce, and she ended up going to the hospital. Generally, polygamous women will deliver at home with a midwife, and she had some complications with a previous miscarriage, and following that, you want to make sure everything is going smoothly and she's as safe as possible. So they had arranged for a doctor to deliver her at the hospital, and she had gone through and got an epidural, and then her water breaks while Cody went to go get a bag for her. So he was supposed to be going home to get a bag to pack for her stay for when she is discharged. And then he was also supposed to pick up their oldest daughter, Aspen, so Aspen could watch the birth and get some education and experience with that. And we're better to do it than with your mom and dad, right? So it went, there was a couple touch and go moments, but it went fairly smoothly, and she was able to deliver a healthy Truly. And everybody was so happy that baby Truly was born. In this episode also, it showed a couple of clips actually, where Cody was getting ready to leave and go back to the hospital, and Robin stops him and gives him a kiss, and then the camera follows him out, and he's laughing about ha ha ha, kissing my girlfriend while my wife's in labor. Which, as a wife, I would probably not be happy about that. I'd be like, just get here, you can kiss on her later. Also, as a monogamist and raised in a Trinity-based faith, Christian faith, we don't believe in polygamy, and that would be so disrespectful, and I would be so angry. But that is based on my monogamous viewing, right? So, actually, one of his daughters that posts said that it wasn't really a big deal to them because that's part of polygamy and you just kind of get used to it. And he did not miss the birth, so everything was good. So it was a beautiful experience for all of them. And then episode 5 is when Cody and Mary go on their 20th anniversary trip. And while the scenery was beautiful, they had a beautiful hotel, everything was looking nice, the food that they enjoyed looked good, and they seemed to get along pretty well. But there was some undertone of awkwardness to me. Like, you could tell that they weren't real lovey-dovey, that there was something there that was causing them to be a little split apart. So even back then when I first watched it, I noticed that, and I felt it was just awkward. And they had talked about, like, because Mary had the one child and she was having a hard time having any more, and she never did have another child besides Leon. But they talked about in vitro fertilization and that kind of thing, and Mary just kind of was like, no, she didn't want to do that. I'm sure she looked into it before this episode, right? If you can't have children and you want them, you would look into what this involves. What is my body going to have to go through? I'm going to have to do injections. I'm going to have to time my cycles. I'm going to have to do all these things to make it to where either she could get pregnant and have the baby, or she could donate the eggs to get a surrogate. So these are things that I'm sure she would have thought of, but she just didn't want to go through it at the time. And Leon was in Leon was in his teens, and she may not have wanted to go through that again and have a little baby with a teenager that's getting ready in the next few years to be off on their own, so I can understand that view. Then there was episode 6 where Robin was taking the wives out to look for the dress, and there was the whole debacle about the whether she their experience together trying on dresses was real or not. Did she already have the dress in mind that she had picked out with Cody? Apparently Cody thought that he had picked out the dress. Robin said he didn't pick it out. She picked it out, but he pretty much okayed it, so it was kind of icky to Christine at the time, and she got offended because traditionally men do not go and pick out the dresses. The men, and the whole point really is to pick out something that makes you look so beautiful, and then when you come out, then it's a surprise, and you get a real-time initial reaction from the husband about what they thought of how you looked, right? So it was kind of weird, I thought too. I was kind of with Janelle's like, okay, but it's just weird. And then they went out and chose like the different cakes and things like that, and Cody was being kind of awkward and weird about it. But they ended up choosing what they wanted, the two together. They chose flowers, so the flowers, she let them pick, the other wives pick whatever they wanted as long as it was in the color palettes that she approved of, and they seemed to appreciate that. So I thought that one was a good experience with the flowers. They picked out their own dresses as well, so they chose brown, which personally I was fine with the color that they chose, that brown. It was almost like a chocolate brown, so that's okay. At that time and date, it was a pretty popular color to do, like chocolate. I saw some businesses doing like cupcake themes with like chocolate cupcakes and pink icing decorations and stuff at that time. So it's not out of the realm of what was acceptable back then. So I think us watching it now and thinking that's weird is because things were just different 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So then number 7 is where Cody and Robin actually got married, and they had the actual ceremony in the church area with the bishop or whatever they're called, and so that was private, so nobody got to go in there with them for that part, I guess. Maybe immediate family, but not anybody outside. And then they had the big reception where everybody was seemingly so happy, other than when Brianna started crying, because I'm sure she was exhausted. A lot of people around partying, maybe some anxiety. She had some anxiety or something, and that caused her to cry. But you got to expect that from little kids. Little kids can't sit there very long, and they get bored after half an hour if there's not something interesting to do or watch, right? So I can understand poor little Brianna getting upset and crying. But they got their pictures done, and they got their party, and they just had a blast. It looked like a lot of dancing together, and everybody got a turn with Cody, and they seemed happy at that point. So that was a happy day. Episode 8 was where they were interviewed, and they just talked about the season and how I believe Mary got fired when they found out that they were polygamous. She got fired from her job at the time, which I think is pretty sad. I don't think that should happen. That seems like it was one of our constitutional rights, right? To express whatever religion we want. But when that religion, it, causes problems with the laws. You're only supposed to be married to one person. How does that play out, and what's right and what's wrong? So, and then technically they're not legally married. So is that wrong? There's been people that I know that the husband doesn't ask the wife, and he goes around and has a couple other families, and maybe the wife doesn't know for a while, but she may find out later and divorce him or not, up to her. But he doesn't get arrested for polygamy. And so if it's not on a legal document, then can they be arrested? It's kind of a weird conundrum, right? And then the last episode was when Cody and Robin went on their honeymoon to San Diego. They were away from like 10 or 11 days, and they were like at the beach, and they were like trying to surf, and then they went to a wildlife park, and they were talking about how lions are polygamous, but they didn't really mention how penguins are not, or beavers are not, or there's other monogamous animals besides, lions being polygamous. So it's not natural for every mammal on earth to be polygamous. That's just ridiculous. But each religion has their own beliefs, and if you follow some of the other polygamy discussions, like Cults to Consciousness, which I mentioned in another video, she talks about how when Joseph Smith designed polygamy, basically there was some sketchy business between him and his wife and his I think she was a housekeeper or something, and then all of a sudden you come up with, here's polygamy, and this is what's right, and this is what God told me to do. And there's a lot of things that are coming out now, and even I guess the LDS, the mainstream LDS, is kind of saying, well, maybe that didn't happen, but our church is doing a lot of good, so we want to continue these beliefs, but not necessarily these other beliefs. And that's maybe part of why they no longer practice polygamy, other than the state of Utah. In order to become a state, the LDS groups were supposed to, the mainstream LDS had to be monogamous. They cannot uphold polygamy legally, so they got away from it. But then you had these other branches break off, like I mentioned. That this one is the AUB with Sister Wives, the United Brethren, and then there's another one that is close by them, actually, the Kingston Clan. They broke off from the LDS in the 20s or 30s. And then the FLDS with Warren Jeffs, which we know he has been imprisoned. He is their prophet, but he's around the Colorado City, which is in Arizona technically. And then there's another border town in Utah. I can't think of what it's called, but they have all branched off from the LDS about that time when Utah became a state. So this is very interesting and hard to comprehend, some of the things that go on. And like I said before, it's just a few hours away from me, and I had no idea. I mean, I had an idea, but it doesn't seem real, right? It seems more like it's a TV show or a movie or something. It doesn't seem like people actually live this way, but some of them actually are fairly normal, and some of them do choose to live this way, and they do choose this belief. Cody and Janelle both left the mainstream LDS to join this polygamous group, the AUB. Christine was born in it. Her dad raised her in it, and her mom actually split off from it when she was really little. And then Mary's parents lived polygamy, and he had other wives apparently. So they were raised in it, and they knew that that's how they were going to live when they grew up, and it was just expected. So they followed suit, and then as we know, years later, everything kind of fell apart. But we'll keep looking at more seasons and see when and how maybe that came to be. But even in the first season, you can see like Christine's uncomfortable with the situation with Robin, and even Mary. It seems like Mary and Cody may have had some problems in their relationship, and maybe Mary offered this marriage to Robin as kind of a gift, so maybe she could get a reward. But it makes you wonder, did she get rewarded for her gift of Robin to Cody, for allowing, or even all the wives, for allowing Robin to come into the family? And that makes you wonder, like, if they had said no, or if two of the wives said no, would he have ignored them and done it anyway? So a lot of the polygamous groups would have done it anyway, and they wouldn't have cared what the wives said. Supposedly he would have cared, but I really wonder. Anyway, tell me what you think. Thank you.